Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. We're getting an update from Trigon Metals, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol TM and on the OTC markets under the symbol PNTZF. We are chatting with the CEO of Trigon, Jed Richardson. Now, as a note, I was joined with Jed or by Jed early in July 12th, for a webinar where we took a lot of questions. It was a very active webinar. It was fun to take part in. Jed answered a lot of the questions that were sent in during that webinar. We will post a link below this interview to that webinar replay. It really gives you a big, full understanding of the company and the production portfolio from that Kombat Mine in Namibia. Now, the company is producing copper at that Kombat Mine. Company also has the Silver Hill project in Morocco. This is a bit more of a copper-silver exploration play. The focus is going to be, again, on this Kombat Mine and news that came out last week, July 20th. It announces a silver stream with Sprott Streaming, US $27.5 million. Trigon is receiving for a silver stream that encompasses 100% of the silver production from the Kombat Mine. Now, as a note, it is only from the Kombat Mine, not from any future production from Silver Hill or any other of Trigon potential projects or assets. Jed, the first question regarding this financing, or I guess this cash coming into the company, is does this then fully finance the company for its continued construction build out?
The answer is yes. So we have a study looking at the underground expansion. We've costed that at about 22 million US. So the 25 that's coming in as part of this stream, 2.5 that we've already received and was used for working capital. But the new 25 million that come in with this stream is more than enough to get us through the underground development and get the underground production. So yeah, it does solve that. We'll have the capital we need for our expansion.
Well, Jed, another key takeaway is that the silver stream is for the life of the mine, but you do have the option with Trigon to buy it back, which is a key component. I'd love you to speak to that and just what that could mean down the road for the company, just having that ability to buy it back down the road.
Absolutely. And I think I touched on it in the release and definitely in our little explanation video, but the buyback portion of this was a very important feature of why we ended up working with Sprott Streaming. I personally am a bit of a silver bull, but even more importantly, we still have a lot of growth planned at Kombat. Right now, the silver stream from the underground could present about 200,000 ounces of silver a year, but there's real potential for that to grow as we have more exploration success along the 35 kilometers of strike at Kombat. So this buyback, we see that as an option we'll have on future price appreciation in silver, or even in our option on our own exploration, where at a set now we can buy back potentially a very valuable stream in the future.
So, Jed, are there any changes or alterations that need to be done to the production facility to further isolate any of this silver for this silver stream? Or is it simply just continue to mine when the money comes in, that money goes over to Sprott?
Yeah, it's a financial transaction. It doesn't change anything in the way we do business. Produce concentrates, ship those concentrates, and as we get paid by the off-takers, a portion, the silver portion of that will go to Sprott Streaming, and then 10% of the value of that will come back to will stay within Trigon. So we get paid 10% of all our future silver production, and then the balance goes now to the streamer.
Well, Jed, this may seem rudimentary, but I'm sure a lot of people would like to know what will this capital be used for? I know part of it is to fund the feasibility study and the development work at Kombat Mine, but just big picture, what does it mean, this expansion that you're going through, for investors that follow along with Trigon?
Yeah, like you said, base pieces we'll fund the feasibility, we'll dewater the underground, and we'll do an expansion of the mill. So right now we run the mill at about 1,100 tons per day. We're going to grow that to 2,000 tons per day with this capital, and then we'll go to an owner operated mining fleet underground. So currently we use contracted mining for our open pit, but underground we'll have our own trucks, shovels, and drills. And a big part of this capital is going to be used for that. But what that means for you as an investor is this takes our production profile from that 8 million that we're projecting from the open pit to over 30 million once we get underground. So it's material growth.
Jed, what about this aspect of a copper stream? It says 3.15% copper stream commencing when phase 1 underground mining begins and terminates when phase 2 begins at ACES Far West. How does this play into this transaction? Give us a little more information here, please.
So in working with Sprott Streaming, the things that they did is they looked forward past our existing resource and the feasibility study that we have on the underground, on the first level of the underground, and they looked forward to what we call ACES Far West, our phase 3 expansion or phase 2 of the underground. And in doing that, they are giving us value for when our production in copper terms could grow to about 65 million pounds. In accounting for that risk that they were taking, what they've done or what we've included is a interim royalty on the copper until that next stage of growth is realized. So right now we're looking at production starting from the underground in 2024, and then we've looked at ACES Far West, the next phase of underground, coming in 2026, 2027. So in that interim period, Sprott Streaming will receive a portion of the copper, kind of waiting for that next portion of a next additional bump in silver production. But internally, what we're doing is we're now looking at that as motivation to try and move that second phase of underground development forward. See if we can bring that forward and shorten the time frame that we're paying that copper royalty. If we can move it forward 1 year, 2 years, or we can reduce the amount that we ever pay out in copper, and it also will be beneficial to Sprott Streaming because we'll produce more silver at that point.
Well, Jed, the other thing that people should keep their eye on is that if you're increasing the throughput at the mine, and if you go from that 8 million to 30 million production rate, you should be generating more organic revenues as well. So maybe just walk us through how you expect to see that increase, providing that metals prices stay relatively where they are or well bid.
Absolutely. No, like what I often remind people is this mine, through its 45-year history, was an underground mine. It was actually a relatively low-cost underground mine. So getting back underground is really kind of returning to the strength of the Kombat Mine. Our forecasted operating costs should drop to around $2, and this is all in cost. Once we're underground, we'll be looking at over 30 million pounds of production from phase 1 underground, and growing when we get into phase 2, we're projecting potentially 65 million pounds of copper production. So as far as EBITDA levels, like we're looking at 60 to potentially 100 and 120 million in EBITDA once we get underground. So it's a dramatic increase in cash flow by doing this.
Now, Jed, are there any permits that need to be obtained as you go through this continued build out and expansion?
No, we're fully permitted. We're fully permitted for mining. We've got our environmental permits in this area, even permits for the water, because we're going to be actually pumping a lot of water as we go underground, and we've got the permissions to pump that water out of our mine and into a new aquifer.
Well, Jed, we'll keep following along with that. But just for investors following the story, what other key news should people have their eyes looking out for as we continue to go through 2022? What is on the horizon for the company as far as key catalysts?
Sure. In the near term, we'll have some exploration results coming out of Kombat. We've done some drilling in and around the pits and in this area that we've highlighted in our last release, the Kafongo pit area. We will also have some production and milestone updates on how things are progressing. Touched on in our last interview that we're mining from a new area. We were expecting to get into sulfides, which will increase our recoveries. In looking forward to where we could announce commercial production. So I can share with you now that we are into those sulfides. We're starting to run those through the mill. And then I think a milestone that people should be looking out for is a return to drill at Silver Hill. We should be drilling at Silver Hill starting actually in the next week. And then we should have results getting into probably September from that project. We had some fantastic anomalies highlighted in our IP surveys, and we're excited to get back and look at those targets. So yeah, I think those are some of the key highlights. Really, production growth is going to be the key one, but should be a pretty eventful second half of the year.
All right, Jed, appreciate this update. If anybody has any follow-up questions, you can always email me, fleck@kereport.com or shad@kereport.com. And again, please go back, watch that webinar replay because there was a lot of information that we covered and answered a lot of questions. Your questions might be addressed there. And again, if they aren't, be sure to email us. Jed, thank you, as always, for your time. Keep us up to date on future news. We'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Shad.